that the volumes have gone up. We are up now about 37% across the board. You know, the total volume turnovers on the secondary market trading. Of course, that has been fueled much by the equities market have recovered a bit, and the bonds market have actually more than tripled in terms of volumes. So compared to the last year of 2016. So we've seen participation from investors coming up, you know, new investors coming into the market, mainly retailers, on the tune of 8% almost right now, up to end of November. So, and we are still counting. So basically that is the turnovers, you know, on the secondary market. We've had an IPO during the year, and we have seen some activity in a corporate debt, whereby we've seen some people with interest in commercial papers, corporate bonds, and so on and so forth. And the issuance of the Treasury bonds has also been very successful, like you just mentioned. So we've seen some activity better, much better than last year of 2016. You know, the past few years we've had a downturn in the equities market basically, but they have recovered. Companies, the underlying companies, they are performing well, apart from probably Uchumi, which is also a cross-rated security on our market. But the others have done well. They have been paying dividends as they've been paying before. Again, there was a bit of setback on CTL caused by the MTN fine by the regulators in Rwanda. But from the look of things, the announcements they are making now as a company, they are also they have not done badly for the year. They actually has improved in terms of business. The only problem was the fines they got as a CTL. So that was the area where I thought maybe we were having some issues with one of the listed companies. But across the board, the companies have done well.
You've touched so many companies, and it would actually take us over 30 minutes to go one by one. CTL, a very good example there. The regulator coming up and saying that, you know, this is not right, and Rwanda, synonymous with stepping down if the law is actually set in stone. It is set in stone. You can't go around it. Going forward, how do you see if CTL is actually paying dividends and vis-a-vis saying that they're investing in maybe 3G infrastructure, where do you draw this balance? Because some actually argue that when a boss is new, when a company has just listed, it shouldn't actually be churning out dividends.
Well, I think, you know, when a company is listed, it does not prevent it to do its own business. You have to remember one thing. You know, listing on itself is not an end in itself. Okay, so the company comes to list for a reason. That to raise money for different purposes, but it does not prevent the company to continue business as usual. So whether you are listed or you are a public company, when you make money, you distribute a dividend. You know, that is one fact. But on the other side, you know, if you need money for your future projects, you retain those dividends. If you are fined by a regulator, in the case of a CTL, for example, MTN, you know, you reserve some of that money, you don't pay the dividend for that year. So that's normal business. Really, at the end of the day, it's up to the management and shareholders of the company and how the company is doing in general. So I think the companies are pretty much confident when they are doing that. But again, companies which are public, they tend to be more careful and more savvy when it comes down to distributing dividends and things that have to do with shareholders. Because at this time, they are dealing with different shareholders who are from different backgrounds, and they have to be very careful on perceptions going into the future. But serious investors normally look at the bottom line, which is the fundamentals of the company. So that's basically it. Yeah.
Right. We could delve into MTN and CTL for the rest of the show. Let's move on to an awareness campaign that you've actually embarked on 2017. You've been massive, going to high schools, going to universities, and just creating so much awareness. Would I be fair to assume that this is actually being replicated on the retail market?
I think you could say so. I mean, we are not happy yet. I would be frank with you. I would want 1 million shareholders or 5 million shareholders actively, you know, in our market.
Out of a country of 11.8 million.
Yes. I mean, we have 8 million mobile account holders, so that's a big number. Yeah. But for us, we are talking about less than 1%. You know, uptake of our products. Though products are still taken, we still have oversubscription in anything that comes to our market, meaning the appetite is there, but it's limited to a certain number of people. However, we have seen the public education taking effect, which has translated into the participation, like you have seen in the secondary market for mainly the IPOs. We add in more investors on when we have an IPO, which is a product, a good product for many people. And when we have the issuance of bonds, whichever bonds, mainly the government bonds, because people are taking them up quite well. So it has improved. It's finally paying off slowly, but we want this step to be further and faster.
Moving into the bond space, there have been a few analysts and commentators who argue that Rwanda shouldn't actually be taking on another Eurobond, and maybe should stick to the quarterlies as they are in the 15-year that are actually always oversubscribed. Maybe that's the other thing that we need to note, always oversubscribed. What's your take on this particular one? Do you see Rwanda needing another Eurobond, given the debt distress that we are actually seeing?
Well, I wouldn't talk for government, that's one thing. But talking purely merely as an analyst in the business, I think it's up to the government to see where the need is. I think whenever you decided to go for foreign currency debts, which is where the Eurobonds and those things fall into, you have to be careful, definitely, and but you have to weigh the need and the risks involved with this. So in the past, the government of Rwanda has been seen to be very disciplined and savvy when it comes down to managing the economy. That is the debt levels and fiscal policy and monetary policy at the same time. So as to why, if it's possible, well, it will be up to the government to judge, to make the call. But currently, I have not been seeing any needs. And many people normally go, sovereign countries, they go for Eurobonds when there is a huge need for that. So now when you are seeing issues like Made in Rwanda campaigns improving on our sovereign, on the balance of payments, we have improved by end of Q2 by 25%, for example.
Again, Celestine, that's where I jump in and say, do you actually need a Eurobond? Because if I look at inflation, it's at 2.2% as per yesterday. Yes. You're looking at all the macros, the pointing, this is a very stable economy. Yes. The infrastructure is set. Yeah. Do you need another Eurobond?
If you ask me if I was the one managing the economy, I would say I don't think so, not now. Because the country is, the local bonds are good so far.
Yes.
And the other parameters are okay. So I don't think there are major, bigger projects that we need the money for, I don't think, as a country, basically. So I wouldn't say that we need that.
Let's move on to the IPO that we did see earlier on. I&M Bank, very successful, yet again also oversubscribed. They had to turn away people at the end of the issuance. Moving into 2018, tell me what's on the horizon, at least IPO-wise.
Well, I mean, we are speaking to a few companies. People are in the kitchen preparing for a few products coming to the market. I wouldn't say too many. I wouldn't say much about it at this point. But there are some things cooking in the pipeline. We have a pipeline of companies which are working on a few products, basically. Yeah, in the corporate side. Yeah.
Again, there's been a lot of criticism of SMEs not actually coming to the party when it comes to awareness and maybe listing and just taking as much attention as they can on the bourse. How are you addressing this particular one?
Well, I must admit that they have not been forthcoming. We've tried in the past few years. We are not alone, actually, in the game. Across the continent, we have GEMS markets all over the place. Nairobi, Botswana, Nigeria, everyone has an SME market board. But so now we have gone back to the drawing board to see what we can do best, to improve the situation, because we are learning from experience from other markets. So this year and a few years to come, we have a new focus now to the SMEs to do some investment clinics for them, and basically I think they need the hold handing. We need to hold their hands all the way. So it's not about money raising alone. That's one of the things we have discovered. It ranges from management to economies to understanding, public awareness. It's a whole range of things that you have to do. But you must apply something according to different markets. It cannot be one formula for all. So we are going back to the drawing boards as Rwanda on our own, looking even to startups and ideas and people who may even float an idea in future. So basically what I'm telling you, we can't do business as usual. We must be innovative on that side, and be flexible and think outside of the box, really. So and address the issues the way they are. Otherwise, if we operated at the normal way capital markets have been operating in the West, you know, applying the same AIMS market rules, you apply them to our markets, it can't cut the cake. So we must think, we are trying different things to see what we can do for our people. But whatever solution we find, it must be the entire ecosystem. It must really address the issues of financial advisors, you know, lawyers and accountants, reporting accountants, regulators. It must include everyone. You know, in terms of supporting the SMEs, because everyone has something for SMEs. The donors have something for SMEs, banks have something for SMEs, NGOs, everyone has something for SMEs in terms of raising the money. But is that the problem? The main problem they have. So you have to look at the entire ecosystem and look at the entire value chain, actually, matter of fact, to see where we can bring value.
I like what you're saying. African solution maybe for an African problem, at least.
It must be homegrown, really. That's what we have come down to realizing.
Definitely. The word on everyone's lips, at least last week and the week before, even throughout the year, is Bitcoin. And earlier on was saying, I like the shrug. Earlier on, we saw the Winklevoss brothers wanted to have an AFT that tracks the price of Bitcoin, and that was turned down by the FCO. And fast forward to where we are today, actually the breaking news is futures actually tracking Bitcoin, and this actually being accepted finally. What is your take on this, and let alone what the future holds, at least for developing markets and emerging markets, not forgetting frontier markets?
Well, I think, you know, our main problem is not trading as developing markets, really. You know, we are here to do the basic need for our people. You know, first of all, we must rethink about why do the capital markets exist in our markets. We are here to try to support the local economy. So Bitcoin is not really necessarily about the local economies necessarily. So it's a new phenomenon to watch carefully.
But isn't it a disruptor? Isn't it going to disrupt the space?
Well, you know, any new technology, a new thing coming into the mix, you know, they're disruptive. It can be disruptive. But at the end of the day, you must produce something to have a coin. Bitcoin is merely a currency. It's another form of currency,
but now
cryptocurrency. So what if it does? It will be disrupting things, of course, for sure. I mean, blockchain technology has started disrupting a few things here and there. But I think people, the users and the stakeholders are watching. So are we. We are the same people. We are also watching what is happening in that space. But we are not remaining the course in why and how we're existing. So it's something to watch and see how it evolves. But at the same time, we can't stop what we are doing. So our main goal is to access the economy to long-term funding, and to access people to savings in places where they are safe.
Celestine, of course, then I would ask you, there was a time when early in the 90s, before Black Friday, people would buy, pick up a phone and say buy, or sell. Then the future comes in. There's an evolution, there's an invention. You start trading automatically, and you don't need to pick up your phone and waste so much airtime. And wouldn't one say that this is the beginning of the future if futures are actually going to start accepting Bitcoin? And that's where I want to push you this.
Yeah, I think it's something to really still track. I'm still sticking to my guns on that. Because you see, this is new technology. This is a new phenomena coming into this space of financial services. So you cannot ignore it. It's here, and it's probably here to stay. But you know what? The world today is so fast. We could find another one, you know, in the next few years, you know, which another thing that people will be tracking. So I would still remain to the fact that whatever you do in doing your business, you must remain to the fundamentals of business, not really focusing on technologies and stuff like that. But you must watch them, because if you don't watch them, they could take you over one day. So you must make sure where you are at every given time. But you remain the course to the fundamentals of the kind of business you are doing.
Right. Finally, before I let you go, IFC. Now I understand you're having a very interesting partnership here.
The Kigali International Financial Center?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, this is something that has been approved by government last week. So we are watching to see what happens with it. I believe it's a good project the country is bringing in. To be, you know, we are vying to be a services hub of some sort, logistics services, you see tourism and so on and so forth. Yeah. So it's part of those, but this time around it's something of international record. So we will watch what happens.